And welcome back. Today we are flying out the Ta-152H 6.0 at the German meat grinder, and you are gonna be facing mostly Fu-4Bs just like that one, F2Gs, P-51Hs and some Spitfires, but the Americans are truly your main competitors. But before we get into that, thank you to all my patrons and to everyone looking to buy something from the store. I have a 3% discount link in the description. No decal yet, I'll let you know when it's finally finished. How do you fly this thing? Well, you are kind of limited. The plane itself is great. It's not a bad plane at all. It holds its energy extremely well. It turns extremely hard with the flaps down. However, if you lose the flaps, you kind of turn into a classic 190 turn. It's still much better, but you definitely notice that the flaps help this thing out a substantial amount. And you want to use them as much as you can. Don't try to rip them off, because it will hinder your combat effectiveness very substantially. The air spawn, definitely important to this thing, because otherwise P-51Hs and F2Gs are gonna be running absolute trains on you. You want to stay above them, you want to make sure that your early game presence is there. That you're actually doing things, because late game, especially if you have the classic 6v6 fighter team, where you have 4 Junker 288s, a ground pounder, and then you as a fighter against 6 of them in F2Gs and P-51Hs, you need to kill them at the start, as they are maybe occupied killing a bomber, as they're maybe diving to the deck to kill some easy targets. You want to make sure that it doesn't go into the long game, because in the long game their climb rate, their acceleration will eventually overcome your retention, and you're not particularly quick. You pick up a lot of speed in dives, sure. You hold your speed very well in turns, even with the flaps down, sure. But when there is multiple, and they can dodge you all day, and they can regain that energy very quickly, eventually you'll find yourself at a very bad position. So climbing to 6 to 7 kilometers and never engaging anyone is actually not going to get you anywhere. So how do you fly this thing? You want to get people to go for you. You want to have a little bit of a power position. You don't need 2 kilometers on people. You just want people to have this feeling that they can engage you. And when they can do that, when they are in range and they start engaging you, then you have them by the balls. However, if you're just gonna keep breaking off and because you want to get the perfect engagement, eventually you're going to find yourself shit out of luck. Here I'm just playing the team game. I'm just switching targets. I'm targeting whoever is important at that very moment. I'm trying to keep my team alive. This is also like a 12v12, so you can play the team game. Normally you are basically alone, and well, let's get right into those games. P-51H here. This is actually also 6v6, but I got a pretty lengthy dogfight, so let's look at what we are doing. Right here, he dodges a head-on, so instantly he sacrifices a lot of position and I get on his 6. The Ta-152H, because it is kind of stiff at higher speed, without the flaps especially, and it holds the speed very well. And you can tell here that even with me dropping throttle, this guy is slowly but surely reversing me. Do keep in mind, the P-51H does actually outturn you in the short term, and it will pull inside of you, so be sure to avoid those first few angles, and after that you should be okay. The issue is I can't really dive away or reset the fight at this point, because if I do that I'm going to get him on my 6, and you can't really reverse a P-51H reliably, because he will lose more speed than you quicker, and he will outturn you, making it very hard for you to get him off your 6. But if you play it semi-carefully, you still want to get some aggression in, because if you are going to be too passive, you are never going to get any shots. But this P-51H did the wrong thing, went downwards, and you don't want to go downwards versus this thing. You want to make sure that you try to keep it kind of horizontal, and you kind of go up actually. And that sounds very counterintuitive, I know, because this thing doesn't lose speed. But the only way to beat this thing in an actual dogfight in the P-51H is to eventually start out climbing it in a little bit of a spiral fashion. I have tried it against a certain pilot named Renamed, one of the best duelists in the game. And I am definitely not a duelist, and I killed him 1 to 6, I think, 1 to 5. And it's not because I'm better. He played the P-51H almost perfectly, and the one time I missed I think 2 or 3 of my angles, and it went really sustained, and he forced a very specific trajectory. He ended up eventually out climbing me, and once it gets in that kind of position, the thing is, that is playing to the Ta-152H's strength. If the P-51H plays it normal and he just out climbs you without actually trying to dogfight you, guess what, you are shit out of luck, and he's just gonna run trains on you, like they did on your mom. So you want to be careful. Ta-152H are definitely your main target. F2Gs on that hand are also kind of annoying, because they basically fly like a jet. You can dogfight them quite reliably, because they don't turn particularly well. They do hold their speed well and very sustained. They will eventually start turning with you. That's not the issue. But you can very easily just pull inside of them in like the first or second turn. More on that very soon here. You have a little bit of an altitude advantage on the F2G, but it won't really amount to much. So I'm just going to dive, pick up some speed, make it a little bit harder for him to hit us. And then he flies straight. He pulls in a little bit too late. And then I drop my flaps because I notice he starts pulling in. And all I have to do now is make sure that he doesn't complete his loop. But he is just going to end up turning right in front of us. This is not exactly the most interesting dogfight. But it's about the aftermath of what's about to come. Because I lead a Spitfire close to me. And he is going to dive on us. And the Spitfire is the plane that you can dogfight. But you need to have a little bit of an altitude advantage, and this is definitely not the scenario you want to dogfight it in. Very likely it's an LF, which is going to be even more scary. However, we are at 5 kilometers, and right now I'm just trying to look at his wings and trying to figure out if it's a clipped wing or a normal wing, because you do fight them both quite differently. The clipped wing turns a little bit worse and bleeds more speed, making it a lot easier to dogfight. So right here, I'm gonna go right below the Spitfire, make him pick up a lot of speed, and I'm gonna be pitching into him to shed some speed, get a little bit of altitude in the process. And then I'm going to cut throttle, drop my flaps, and I'm going to be turning right inside of him. And I'm already behind him now, but that's because he is faster. I'm going to get 1 or 2 shots of this. I'm gonna bleed even more speed, drop the landing flaps completely, increasing my turn rate. And also losing some speed in the process, making it so that I can stay behind him. This guy does outturn me very handily. But because of the speed difference, eventually he ended up in front of us because of all the speed he carried into the fight. If I would have missed him there, if he would have done a little bit of a different dodge after we kind of merged at the very last there, I would have died. He could have just gone up and I would have had to run away. And the LF9 isn't particularly slow on the deck, and I would have had to dive away. Eventually he would probably catch me in some sense, and then becomes a 2 or 3v1, and then you really do not want to deal with the Spitfire anymore. Very annoying plane to deal with, but normally you should be at like equal altitude, but you should have a little bit more energy, and then you can very easily dogfight them. However, you don't want to dogfight them on easy or like equal terms, and you don't want to dogfight them when they have the advantage either. So here we dive on the P-51H, we don't manage to hit our shots, and now I could easily dogfight him right there, but you can tell there's a Tempest coming in, that's also an F2G coming in. So currently I'm not really keen on dogfighting this guy, and I'm just gonna use all those calories to put him back into altitude. Right now I'm in a pretty good position. This P-51H is not gonna be touching us. I'm gonna be turning straight in. If he pitches for us, he dies. If he doesn't, he is in the threat. So I'm gonna go straight over him, drop the landing flaps basically, or the combat flaps, takeoff flaps, that's the one. And I'm just gonna hold a horizontal angle because I have much more altitude than him. I had more energy, I had more speed. So all I have to do now is make sure that the second this guy becomes somewhat slow, we just go up and over. And we are gonna stall right on top of him. This guy is completely dead right here, and this teammate is helping us so that I can get the kill. Thank you, man. Really much appreciated. Why am I so mad? Because I'm trying to get footage, and basically every game I don't get any fights, and then whenever I do, the teammate is right there to lick them all up. Tempest coming in, so we are gonna go up and over. It's a Tempest II. Not the most dangerous plane in the world, at least not in this kind of scenario. So all I have to do is make sure that he eventually overshoots, and all I need to do is stay out of his guns, and he will overshoot himself in the long run, and I don't really need to do anything for that. So right now I'm just gonna be turning in front of him basically. The second he does something stupid, I'm gonna be right there to lick him up, shoot him out of the air, and we are gonna be diving in and see if we can engage the two guys over there. Tower 152 is getting engaged by an F2G, and he's already on fire, but the F2G is now going straight vertical. He's still chasing the Tower 152, which makes it so that we should have a pretty hefty advantage once we start this fight. He is still on fire, and he's now turning inside of, well, towards us I should say actually. And all I need to do now is line up the shot and shoot him out of the air. We only got a crit. It's a town, or it's an F2G after all. They don't really care about damage, so we need to finish this guy off. But the thing is, I need to commit a lot of altitude and energy to actually do this. But I can't let this guy live either, because if he RTBs, I'm gonna have a massive problem in the late game. Right now, there we go, F2G as well as a P-51H coming in. I do have two teammates on my left, so I'm gonna be just flying away from them for as long as I can. At least want that Tempest to go away, so I'm gonna change my trajectory somewhat. And I just want to make sure that that 109 engages someone, that Tempest doesn't engage us and I can 1v1 that P-51H very handily. The F2G goes full commit head on with the 109, or I should say the other way around. Not entirely sure why he took it, because he was in a pretty good position right there. But now the F2G is somewhat far away, the Tempest is somewhat far away, and this guy is going to catch me eventually anyway. So I'd rather just do the fight right now, get it over with, and make it so that I don't have to 2v1 this guy together with someone else. The Tempest currently is, I think, engaging the Junker, and the F2G is actually flying into the other direction. So right now I'm just trying to turn behind the P-51. I'm trying to get somewhat horizontal lines in. I'm trying to just get behind him, shed some speed, shed some position. And here we are, completely reversed. Down he goes. He's on fire and it's a P-51H, so I'm not entirely sure if he's actually going to be dying. So we shoot him again. And down he goes. We then try to go RTB, but I notice an F8F chasing the Junker. And I'm thinking about engaging him right now, because currently he's alone. So I can get this guy out of the match, then I can land, and then I don't have to deal with him later on together with the other guys. But he gets set on fire, and he is actually going to go down. So now I need to go RTB again. But as I am RTB, I notice the FCG in the middle of the map. And what I don't want to happen is for this guy to start ground pounding, get a massive ticket lead, and then run back to the airfield. So I'm going to abort my landing once again. Why? Because my Junker 288 on my right is there. He might bait him to engage him. And this guy is going to get a lot of tickets down. And if he does that, and then goes back to the airfield, by the time he comes back out, the game is almost over. And I'm not going to be risking that. So I'm going to be engaging him right now. So we fly towards him. He actually does notice us. So he's going to come in for the head-on. He's actually going to try and dodge it. And all we need to do because of that is instantly turn behind him. He then turns the wrong way. We get a hit. And at this point it's done deal. He took the wrong line. He's in a disadvantageous plane. I just pull up over his guns. No shot for you. And we can just go straight up. In the long run, this is a dangerous path of travel, because he has such a good climb rate and so much energy retention, just like us. The thing is, because we have such a good instantaneous turn, we have the energy to burn here because we have position as well. We can just turn behind him, cut the throttle a little bit, and just pull right inside of him. Here we are. Drop the flaps a little bit, because without him you don't turn at all. We shoot his tail off. We shoot his wing off. And he can say, "Honey, I'm home." And that's going to be game. Wolf textbook game here as well. We are climbing a little bit. We are getting a little bit of position again, because we have that early game air spawn. So now all the planes that normally outclimb us, well, I say normally, but this happens every match. At the start of the match, you will be above people. And you need to make your plane work when you are in this position, because it's very important to get the early frags in. Because you don't want to get these guys above you. My team this game actually isn't too bad. Mostly fighters. Mostly decent fighters at that. Not full filled with the BF-109 G10s and stuff. So I am just looking around on who to engage. And I noticed this F2G below me. But I also know that if I go for him right now, I'm going to be giving myself away to this P-51H. And he's now turning in. So it's a good thing I didn't. So we are going to go head on with him. He is not really doing anything. He's not really pulling in. So we lead. He is... I'm not entirely sure what he's doing. But we missed the head on. We just go straight up and over. Why is that? Because then he is forced to dive away. We are forcing a position on him that he has to dive away from. So even if I don't kill him, even if he doesn't take the bait, if he takes the bait, he's instantly dead. If he doesn't, he needs to dive out, giving us a lot more time. And notice the Tempest coming in from the left. And the P-51H isn't diving straight to the deck instantly, which indicates that he actually has somewhat of an idea of what he is doing. Which means that he's going to be somewhat dangerous. So I'm going to be keeping my eye on him. Even though he's a console player, he is playing it correctly. Which means that he might be very annoying. But I can chase this guy all day long. I know he's just going to dive. And that's what I'm trying to get him to do here. So he needs to. Otherwise I'm going to be catching him. And I hope he's going to cook the dive too hard. Shoot a little bit to add a little bit of pressure on top of it. And he's actually going very steeply down now. Which is going to cost him a lot of calories. So we go straight up. Or at least in a pretty steep climb. Two Tempests on R6. The P-51H is now diving away. He probably won't engage us until he has the energy advantage. Which is great, because it's going to take him a little bit. And we should have ample time to deal with these two Tempests. And these two Tempests are actually in a squad. So I know they are playing together. So I'm going to use my squad mate to also help me out. So I'm just dragging them straight currently. I mark the other Tempest for him to attack. Hopefully he listens to that. And then I'm gonna be turning back in, because now we are creating such spacing that they have to engage one of us. The 109 of course engaged the other dude. No real option there, because he was in that position to do so. And then I noticed the FU below us. I don't want to fly in his guns. His guns have been nerfed quite massively, but I'm still not going to be risking it. P-51H coming back after he gets a little bit of altitude, shooting the head on, boom, dead. Goodbye, see you in the next game. So, Tempest behind us, one of them is crit. FU behind us, he is not damaged as far as I'm concerned. And then the other Tempest right now is just running away. So, what do? We look for who to engage. This Tempest, he's presenting himself quite nicely, pretty easily. So we shoot on him, we set him on fire, we pull back off and we go for the FU. He burns up, all the Tempests should be about to crash, because he's going very low, he's been very damaged, and I'm just going to be turning behind the FU here, but the 109 is making it very hard for me to actually help him out. He then finally starts flying straight, but now I'm picking up so much speed, the FU is going to be turning in front of us. I just need to kill him here, but I'm not able to pull lead reliably, so I'm compressing a little bit, picking up too much speed, and then we pull back up into him. Teammate shoots him down, and then he keeps shooting and crits us in the process. We of course say thank you, because we are nice like that. And I see the F8F coming in, I'm just thinking, fuck you, you can deal with him on your own. Well, chat spamming of course, but you don't want to have that damage on your plane like this. Luckily he didn't actually kill my cooling, so it should be somewhat okay, but I'm gonna let this guy die to the F8F, I do not care, and I will engage the FU on the other side of the map. So we are diving in right now. And he is chasing someone else. It's A21, not exactly the best plane in the world. I'm just hoping for that guy to die really. Yes, I'm petty like that, but look at my plane. Why did you keep shooting? You didn't have to do that. Luckily he didn't really hit anything important, but it's still gonna be very annoying in a fight nonetheless. So this FU here is going for the... Oh, it's an Arado actually, my bad. But I'm just waiting for him to close the gap on us. The Arado is turning around, he's actually coming towards us, so I can help him out a little bit quicker. And I'm trying to kind of force a head-on-ish way, so he breaks off. Because I'm going way too fast currently, and I can't actually pull in right there, so I'm going to shoot just above him in the case that he pulls into us. F8F manages to kill himself doing that fight with him. And we just have to turn behind him, because the FU-4B is so busy trying to shoot someone down that he ends up getting no kills altogether. And lastly for today, it's a little bit of a boring one, but I do think it's very important considering this plane, because very often you are gonna be looking at wins or losses on tickets. Mostly losses, because the enemy team can very easily ground pound with the A&M trees, with the 50 cals, with the massive ordnance loadout options that the Germans just do not get. And I notice this Lincoln together with a buddy of his, which are flying away from the map. This is Poland. This map will go by very, very quickly. However, the bombers are very clearly not interested in coming towards me. So what I want to do is I want those bombers to turn around. I want them to come for me, and I'm gonna do that by engaging the P-47. I want them to think that I'm not a threat anymore. And why is this so important? Because these two bombers, if they do absolutely nothing the entire match, we lose. So I need to kill everyone. We are not going to be winning on tickets. We need to finish this map or this match in as little time as possible. Because the less time you have on this map, the bigger the chances that you are going to be winning. So I noticed the P-47. He's going to be turning in. I'm going to be giving myself one more shot, but I'm way too quick. I crit him. He's probably losing more speed than he wants to. And I'm just going to have an energy trap here, have a dogfight with him in the back, as long as he doesn't dive out. But he does dive out. And I can do two things right here. I can secure this kill, or I can settle for potential assist and win the match. What do? We are going to go for potential assist and have a bigger potential to win the match. So we are going to go back into a climb. The P-47 is already crit, he doesn't have much altitude anymore, and he's going to be diving straight into my entire team. So I'm going to be putting it into a climb. I'm going to be intercepting those bombers again, because if I do not kill those bombers, we are going to lose. So after a little bit of climbing, we actually managed to get some altitude, some speed, and we can start cutting them off. Do I want to kill one of these first? I don't really care. I just want to deny one of them at least the drop, so it doesn't kill much more of our ticket. So I'm gonna be pulling up here, I'm gonna be shooting, we get a crit, we get a hit, and then we get a fire. He should have some troubles with that. So now I'm gonna be focusing the Shackleton. Why? I can go for the Lincoln kill. I can probably kill him pretty reliably here, but the Shackleton is now undamaged. He's gonna be more likely to run away from us. I want to put at least some damage in, so I'm going to switch targets. He's also presenting himself by becoming an easier target by pulling right in front of us. So we shoot, we hit some more, we set him on fire too. Which one do I go for now? I'm gonna go for the Lincoln again, because I'm actually gonna be in front of him, making it a little bit of a safer pass. The Lincoln is also damaged. He's also kind of off course, so I want to make sure that this guy is just not gonna be dropping. I want this guy to die before he does so. He's actually turning a little bit to give his top turret some angle on us. We are going to be pulling back in. And we are going to be shooting some more. We take his wing off. We kill his pilot. And now all we need to do is kill the Shackleton. Because this Shackleton, he's flying towards the bases. And he is very likely going to drop if he doesn't burn up. And the Shackleton this match is simply... He's not going to be burning up at all. He is going to be flying around like this for a good 8 minutes almost. Not like 5 minutes, I think. It's a very long time. It doesn't really matter. But because he is not actually burning up, he is going to be dropping his bombs. And because he drops his bombs, he's going to cost us a lot of tickets. So currently, I'm getting a little bit more anxious. And I don't mean this in a literal way. I'm not starting to sweat because I might lose a watt on the match. But I know that I have to kill this guy quick. But there is also another guy somewhere on the map. So I want to kill this guy as quickly as I can. So I can then pop a blind hunt to then decrease the amount of time needed to kill the last enemy player next to this guy. He starts shooting from pretty decent distance away, so I need to start dodging. He's burning, but I can take this very safely, but I just need to kill this guy. We actually managed to miss that shot, but I'm just kind of flaring behind him. I am kind of predictable here, and he does actually manage to hit us. We hit him some more, and then a stop gunner stopped shooting. But keep in mind, the Shackleton also doesn't have much coverage from below here. So I'm just going to be pulling back in. Going to get very close. I'm just going to hold the trigger down. And this guy is just not dying. He simply will not die. He's also still not shooting us with his top turret. So I have a feeling that that guy is probably dead. Or he's reloading. Either way, I need to kill him right here. Because I have a feeling that this guy will not die. So we're going to start shooting at the left wing. See if we can set that on fire. We set him on fire. We go to the engine on his left. And now he has 3 engine fires. If he doesn't burn up from that, I don't know what will happen. So I'm simply going to break off now. That guy is very much dead. And I want to help out with the F2G. Because I have this feeling that the F2G will definitely outlive the G56 and the LA9. And the issue is with the F2G in that kind of scenario, he can run away the entire match and win on tickets. And when I say the entire match, look at the tickets. They're almost gone. We don't have much time here. So I need to make sure that that Shackleton burns up. He has 3 engine fires. He better burn up very quick here. He's losing a lot of altitude, so he will eventually crash. And then the F2G actually starts diving, which is what I was scared of. I was scared of him simply diving out and running to the airfield, but he actually gets set on fire by the king, that is the G56. And now we turn around for the Shackleton again. And now I think to myself, I threw the match by going for the F2G, because I thought that the F2G was a more priority target, bigger priority target. F2G actually burns up, and the Shackleton is still flying, and he finally goes down. We win the match, and that is GG. Thank you all for watching. See you all in the next one.